good? What's good, y'all? Yeah, I came on today purely out of obedience. When I say out of obedience, I mean out of obedience because I was hitting this little slump to where I didn't started losing some of my thought process and losing some of my excitement, excuse me, about doing a podcast. I don't even know if you want to even call it a podcast because I may not have guests or anything like that on here, but it's all good. I just had to find a way to kind of open up and relieve myself. Um, as some of you may or may not know, that yesterday um, made a week um, since the homegoing. I like to call it since the promotion of my mom. My mom passed. Our mom passed last Monday, and it's been a roller coaster ride, right? It's been a roller coaster ride emotionally. And some things, man, it's just you can't even put into words, you just have to learn how to be thankful for the time and the opportunity that God allowed you to have with such a beautiful spirited person. So I really just came on today because I didn't want to continue to prolong the podcast because I felt as though my um, creativity, I felt as though everything was starting to be drowned out, and I didn't want to disappoint God, so I really just came through on obedience. But today, you see the title there. The title says, "Why does love hurt?" Right? It says, "Why does love hurt?" And that right there was something that really just came to my mind as I was getting ready to come in here. But let me just give you a little bit of a background on it, because obviously love hurts, right? Would you agree that there's some pain in love, and that's one thing that most people don't like to come in contact with. We don't like to come in contact with the pain of love, but love requires a sacrifice, right? It requires a sacrifice. And what is a sacrifice? A sacrifice means basically something that has to be given away or something that has to be, um, I don't want to use the word um, killed or anything like that, but it's something that has to be cut off. A sacrifice is something that has to be given in order for love to be effective. And so, just to give you a little something, it was last Thursday when I went to my parents' house, right? It was difficult to walk inside the house, for the first time, knowing that mom wasn't there. And one thing that I felt was I believe it, I know in my heart it was the Spirit of God speaking to me, because God's not going to change how He operates because I may not be in agreement with it. But something He said in my spirit, what He said in my spirit, He told me that I was blessed to experience the kind of pain that I was experiencing. And that kind of threw me. And I'm like, now I know I didn't say that to myself. And it's like, what? What? Blessed to experience the pain that I'm experiencing. And as I sat there, He let me know. He said, in order to experience this kind of hurt and this kind of pain, you have to know what it feels like to be loved. You have to know what it feels like to love someone. And that like really, really shook me because I'm thinking to myself, whoa, in order to experience this kind of pain, I have to know what it feels like to be loved. And then He whispers to me that there are so many people in this world that will never experience this kind of love. and for a minute, it's kind of like, wait a minute, am I to rejoice because I've had the opportunity to experience love? So it was kind of like a bittersweet type of a thing, because when you love someone, you don't ever want to lose them. You don't think of the pain that it will cause you when you have to separate from them. And that right there is something that I really just can't put words into it, but he made so much sense to me. And so, although sad and grieving, although missing my mom terribly, I'm thankful that the kind of love that I was able to receive, I can now give. See, like this, had I not received, thank you, Lord, the kind of love that I received from my dad and my mom, had I not received that type of love, I would be possibly incapable of giving that kind of love to my wife and to my children and to people around me. See, because I was so full of that kind of love from my parents, I now have an overflow in order to give unto other people. And so, with that being said, it's like now I'm thankful, God, that you gave me the opportunity to receive. When you start peeling back the layers of certain things, man, it starts to make sense when you can get behind the pain and move the emotion out of the way and begin to see how God actually works, right? And so, when I start thinking about love altogether, everybody wants to be in love. Everybody wants to be around love. Everybody wants to know what love feels like. But here's the thing: there are so many things out there when it comes to love, man. It's toxic. Some people haven't been loved right, so sometimes those people may be incapable of knowing the right way to love. And if you've only been loved um, in a negative manner, it's hard for you to receive real love when it's there because you don't recognize it. Well, one thing God placed in my spirit, man, and it was just like something so powerful. And I believe I taught on this a little bit Sunday at the church at One Family Fellowship, 13501 Timothy Lane, shameless plug. But I taught a little bit on it Sunday. And what the Lord showed me, uh, is like love gets a bad rap. He said love gets a bad rap. Love takes the blame for a lot of different things. And the analogy that he gave me, the analogy was like he said, love is a gun. Love is like a gun, right? And love is like a gun. How is love like a gun, God? He says, now a gun itself is just there for protection, right? But a gun sitting on the table is still a gun. Um, what makes a gun good or bad is the person's motives that picks the gun up, right? So the gun, the only thing the gun is capable of doing is shooting a bullet. Now, depending on the person that picks up the gun, the use of it, the motive behind the use of it may change. He says, so this is why you start having people they have gun laws. They want to ban guns, but it's not the gun's fault for just being a gun. It's the people that pick up the gun that make the gun a good or a bad thing. And so what he was telling me, he says, like when it comes to love, that God is love. Love is his stuff is going to work. God is love, plain and simple. When you use the principles of love, depending on your motive, then you could really hurt someone or bless someone. And when you don't know how to properly use love or how to properly receive love or how to properly give love, sometimes that can come off as toxic and it can't. Someone will have a false sense of what love is. So what do? They decide to stay from relationships. And when they get too involved emotionally in a relationship, they start pulling themselves back because they've only experienced love from one angle. Love is something, man. Love is something, and when it's not done, when it's not used the right way, it can really break up things. It can really tear up things. if it's not properly put into place. So some would say, why does love hurt? Why does it have to hurt? I think love has to be to a certain degree challenged because the love only gets deeper, um, the more you get into it, the more sacrifices that are made for it. Um, I want to thank all of you who are on right now. It's not very many because I didn't make an announcement that I was going to come on and try to do anything today. I had no intentions on coming in today to do anything, but it was pressed in my spirit to just go and just break the ground because like I said in the very beginning of the podcast, that I felt myself um, starting to disconnect from what I'm doing now. And I don't want to disappoint God, and neither do I want to allow the enemy the space to feel as though he can do something in my life and knock me completely off course. But thank you guys for jumping in here real quick. But what I want to do, if you're in here, let me know where you're chiming in from. I can see the comments popping up, and if you have questions, and let's discuss some stuff. It doesn't have to be super deep or anything like that. But if you've experienced anything like what I was talking about in the beginning, let me see. Let me see where you are with it. Let me see where you are with it. So I enjoy this. I see you. Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Is it morning time? Yes, it is. It is morning time. Can I play something for you? That's that. And I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. I hope you can hear it when I play it. But some of y'all will know what this is when I do play it. Let me know if you can hear that. Because this is still kind of like a test. Can you hear? Hey, Stacy, coming in from Little Rock. Good, good, good. Somebody said they can't hear the song. Okay, so I'm gonna figure something out. Still trying to work on this new board. I don't know. Maybe you can and maybe you can't. But anyway, I'm just listening to What Kind of Love. And if you're from One Family Fellowship, you know what that is. Um, but the topic itself, I seen somebody chime in for me and wanted to know what we were talking about. Just basically, why does love hurt? And I just kind of, most of the things, if you were at the church yesterday, I just kind of tapped into what also you saying now you can hear it. Okay, well, good. Good, 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 good. See, now you can hear it, I can't hear it. So I'm still learning this board. But look here, in the book of, I want to say, let me see, let me turn this. The book of First Corinthians. First Corinthians chapters 13 verses 1 through 7. It talks about love, right? And it tells you love is patient, love is kind, love doesn't keep record of wrongdoing. It gives you all of those things about what love is. But then when you really pay attention to and you read those verses, you realize that that particular passage of scripture is talking about an unconditional love. An unconditional love. And when that love is unconditional, that means nothing can break it. Nothing can break it. And me personally, I feel like we as human beings are incapable of loving unconditionally, completely, because there's always some sort of a condition that will break a relationship for us and with us. And I know some people may not agree with it, but we all have limits as human beings. We all have limits. When you roll down what love is, according to what scripture says, we all fall short in those areas, even when it comes to our own children. It doesn't mean we don't love them. It just means that, yeah, there are some things that your children may do that you've forgiven them for, but you keep record of it because you don't want to get caught up like that again. The Bible clearly says love does not keep record of wrongdoings, right? And so what that made me realize when I read that scripture is that this particular passage is talking about unconditional love. These passages are talking about the love of Christ. And for God so what? Loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth on him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. In other words, what God said, he says, I am going to make the ultimate sacrifice by giving you something or someone that I love the most to stand in your place. I love you so much, I'm going to give you my best. As much as it may hurt me, I'm going to give you my best. And we discussed this on yesterday about how loosely we use the term love. We use love so loosely, right? We use it so loosely because we don't think much of it, right? Right? It's like, I love these shoes. I love this shirt. I love this food. I love this restaurant. If you read in the Bible, Jesus never said he loved things. Anytime Jesus talked about love, he was talking about loving people. Why? Because Jesus realized that God is love. But what Satan has done is he's allowed us to use such a powerful term to manipulate situations, and to not just always manipulate situations, but to dumb it down, right? It's like something can have a whole lot of power, but if you use it all the time, for some reason, it starts to lose it loses its appeal, right? But when you think about it, well, Pastor, it's nothing wrong with loving shoes. There's nothing wrong. Okay, let's look at it from this particular aspect. Anything you love, you have to make a sacrifice for. Anything that you love, you have to make a sacrifice for. Now, why make a sacrifice for something that's incapable of loving you back? I'm going to let you think about that. Maybe that's why we feel so empty, is because we love things and stuff that has no emotion and no feeling and can't love us back. We make sacrifices to go to our favorite restaurants. We make sacrifices to buy our favorite pair of shoes or our favorite clothes. We make sacrifices to get our hair done. We make sacrifices to do so many different things because these are the things that we love to do. But then when those things can't love us back, we have to continue making sacrifices in order to fulfill a void. Now, when it comes to loving people, we want to limit the sacrifice because we want to prevent ourselves from being hurt. And you got to stop and think about that. Am I asking for you to love me, but I don't want to love you because I don't want to be hurt again? Ask yourself that, because even in this time, I want to challenge somebody that has given up on relationships, that have given up on love, that have given up just because everything didn't work right in the past. I want to challenge somebody, you know what, get up and try again. But this time, let whoever you're dating or whatever, let them love you the way they're capable of loving you, and not necessarily the way you want them to do it. Right? Because the biggest mistake we make is expecting us from other people. This is why when it comes to dating, you got to take your time in that process. Why? Because if I don't take my time in that process, I don't get to know what type of love was poured in the person that I'm falling in love with. Because that person can only give me back what somebody else has given them. So regardless of where that person comes from, where they come from, man, it makes a very, very, very big difference, right? It makes a very big difference because they're just the sum total of everything and everyone that has poured into them. And we get to receive whatever that was poured into them. We get on the receiving end of that. But not only just do we get on the receiving end of that, we give out some stuff. right? We give out some stuff. And I think that is, if you know me, you know me. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is for us to always point the finger at what everybody else did to us, but we don't ever think about what we possibly did to somebody. Because in our opinion, I didn't do it to hurt them. That's just the way it turned out. Well, at the end of the day, you don't really know how negative we may have affected someone else based off of what we did, right? And that's why one of the biggest things when it comes to love, you pay attention to where your overflow is coming from. I got the chance to see something. It's like, man, this past week, man, the bar for me was set so high again. Like watching my dad, watching my pops take care of my mom the way, excuse me, y'all, the way that he did. And man, when I tell you, marriages nowadays, they quit too fast. They quit too soon. Right when the test of the marriage is there, people walk away. They forget all about what they said in the beginning, in sickness and in health, for better or for worse. To death do you part. They forget about that because they are not equipped to handle um, that area. And I want you to understand something, man. That pops. I watched, man, and I said, "Wow, wow." My dad, our dad, he really took care of our mom, man. Like you wouldn't believe, like you wouldn't believe. So the standard, as far as me being a husband, the standard as a father, man, had to. It's just, um, I already had high standards, but man, just to see what love really is. And sometimes you don't get to see that part of it until you're actually right there in the face of it. Right. So, why do you think it's so easy? Why do you think it's so easy for people to quit? Not just in marriages or relationships, but why do you think it's just so easy for people to walk away? Could it be because people think they have options? Or maybe we feel like we deserve better. I'm checking comments. I'm trying to see. Do we think we deserve better? Everybody thinks they deserve a certain thing. Then let me ask you a question. For us to deserve something, did we put out? Um, did we sow the seed of what we think we deserve, or did we think that just because we showed up, we deserve something? That's just a question that I'm asking for you. I really just want you to think about basically what we're bringing to the table, right? It's so easy to um, say what I think I deserve, when in actuality, and I can say this from experience, from a real relationship, a real marriage. I don't want to say, well, that sounded bad, but being in a relationship, let me say it that way. Being in a marriage, I don't think I deserve my wife, right? This is why I try to go hard, making sure that she knows she's loved, because I think, in my own personal opinion, I think it becomes toxic when I'm focusing on myself and what I think I deserve. Because now, if I'm just focusing on myself, thinking about what I deserve, I'm no longer concerned about what she is. and I'm trying to pull something out of her, maybe even from a manipulative standpoint. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but I think this works both ways. I think when you get into any type of a relationship, whether it be with your homeboys or your homegirls or whatever, you shouldn't always want to be the center of attention. You shouldn't always have to be the focal point. And how can I be a better friend? And if everybody in that nucleus is thinking the same way about the other person, then we meet in the middle, right? We meet in the middle. But if somebody within that area is keeping score over how much I've done for you and how much I've done here, and you ain't did this, you ain't did this, right there, we're in competition with each other, not in companionship. And that's just all there is to it. And I think a lot of areas get really lines get blurred when we if you're a giving person, right? If you are just by nature a loving and a giving person, a loving and a giving person, if you are that by nature, you feel me? That's you by nature. If the person, if your friends or your boo or whatever is was never a giving person, you can't. It's unfair to hold them accountable for what you do naturally. I hope that makes sense, right? It's unfair to hold them accountable for what you do naturally. But I think these are the type of discussions that has to be had, or prior to making a long term commitment. But not only that, I think these are the type of things that come up when we have disagreements, when we don't agree eye to eye. We get to see exactly who we're dealing with, and then after we realize who we're dealing with, we can make a conscious decision on if we want to move further or move along with this whole thing or not, right? Because there are some friends that you have that take, and you give. But at some point, if you had enough blowups with that friend, when there has to be a line. You start realizing that what, all of my giving is not necessarily helping. So that's still going to be my homegirl. That's still going to be my boy. We gonna always be cool. We gonna always be tight. But I'm being more of a liability to him now, or to her now, right? They're coming to you instead of going to God. And then when you start getting into that God area where he's trying to deal with your friend, you get to suffer the consequences yourself. It's not always a good thing. But see, that's another part of love that hurts, right? Sometimes love hurts when you have to remove yourself from the situation because you realize you are being a liability. You realize you are being the pain, and not intentionally, but just because you're there to ease every other symptom. So you stop and think about it. I think what happens is when we start experiencing something, um, our emotions begin to make decisions for us. And once our emotions start making decisions for us, then man, it's over. That's just the truth. Because man, I think one thing, it was a quote that I said years ago, and I really believe it. And it says, your discernment catches what your emotions overlook. Discernment catches what your emotions overlook. Discernment will say, pump your brakes, slow down. But your emotions will say, I don't know, don't slow down because you ain't never felt this before. Key word, felt, feelings. Feelings, right? So now, when it comes to, let's look at this. Let's look at it from this angle here. When you have to pull yourself out of a situation because you know that your being there is toxic to the person that you love. And I don't mean toxic as a way to just, I mean toxic from that standpoint. They're unable to grow because they can depend on you to pull and do everything for them. You're showing love for them when you put some separation between them and yourself. And not only that, you're showing love for your own thought process, your own emotions. You're showing that you really, really need this opportunity to allow the Lord to work through that person. Right. And so sometimes when it comes to love, a lot of people, the way the world looks at it right now is if you don't agree with them, you don't love them. Right. If you don't give them something, you don't love them. When that's not what love is. Right. The word love, in so many words, means to accept. ACCEPT. It means to accept. Right. The word hate does not mean, the word hate is not an emotion. The word hate is an action. Right. So the word hate means to reject. That's simply what the word hate means. When you tell a person, I hate you, you're saying, I reject you. How many times have we not said we hated something, but we rejected it? Right? We rejected it. So I can love you, but hate things about you. That don't even sound right, but it does. But when you change the wording around, I can accept you, but I can reject certain things. Like I can love you as a person. I can love everything about you, but there's just some things that I'm not going to accept. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to accept you, but it means there are some things about you that I'm not finna rock with, and vice versa. And at that point, if you really love me and I really love you, there comes a point where we have to talk about certain things and we decide what's the best move to make. Now, if you're rejecting a part of me that's just who I am and I'm unwilling to change it, then that means I should be willing to move around. And we should be okay with that, because I want to be something that you want me to be because you can't accept who I am. Does that make sense? Because a lot of us, we get in situations and we try to make the person be who we want them to be to fit us. And if you can make a person into being who you want them to be to fit you, the second you make them into your little project, now they're boring. And that's just the truth. But I believe God allows us to have different paths, different ways, come from different angles, come from different places. I believe he does that so we can learn something different. There are things about I'm glad my wife ain't like me. Golly, no. I'm glad, but and I'm glad I'm not like her. Right? Because it's we learn something different about each other, but then learning how to truly connect and to learn how to truly love each other, it calls for some sacrifice. And if you're unwilling to make a sacrifice for the person that you claim to love, then you might need to dismiss yourself from that situation. Because the ingredient to love never changed. It never changed. So that's why it hurts. It hurts because we're connected. Right? It hurts because we're connected. It hurts because we have emotionally invested time. We've invested spiritually. We've invested mentally. Some have the easiest part. Now watch this thing here. Some people break up because now they're not connected financially. In other words, they're going through a rough patch, and the money ain't moneying the way it used to, and now that's a problem. That is the easiest replacement. You feel me? That's the easiest replacement because the money ain't there. But when you start becoming emotionally invested in a person, mentally invested in a person, spiritually invested in a person, it's harder to walk away from that because that's going to make an impact all the way around, all the way around. So when I say love hurts, that whole financial side of it, that hurts for a moment because you can always get that back. But when you have to detach from somebody mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and see, here it is. You can tell if you've detached from them. If you've not detached from a person emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, you keep talking about them in a roundabout way. You know, I got the guilty pleasure. I got a guilty pleasure. Me and my wife watch. I don't know if y'all watched this show called Married to Medicine. Oh my goodness, that show was a trip. But there's one particular couple there. Well, no, it's two couples, but one set is divorced from each other. Now that they're dating or married to other people, and they go on this retreat together. So the ex-husband and ex-wife are there with their new people, and for this young lady to be so over her ex-husband, she took every shot that she could to make him feel like the scum of the earth. And all this while with her new dude. Okay. And so right then her new dude was like, man, I'm just starting to wonder why she got to keep going back. If she's done, why does she got to keep coming back at him with different things? Right. So right there, I told my wife, I said, see, she doing a little bit too much for her to be over this dude. She wouldn't be bringing all this other stuff up. She wouldn't be trying to, prove a point. And just, it's just a whole lot. When this is what I mean when you're still emotionally invested or you're still mentally invested in someone, and that love, that you've not cut that off completely, right? You take every opportunity you can get to, woe is me, and it's that person's fault, or you try to shine to make sure that they see that you shine. And babe, when you over it, you're over it. Trust me, I know when you done, you can carry. Hey, you have had no ill will. I'm happy to see you happy. We don't have to. How you doing? And it's just that, because think about how insecure her new man must feel now, knowing that there's still some sort of an emotional attachment over there, right? So when love sinks its hooks in, you have to, what's the word I'm looking for? You have to be intentional. You have to be intentional about moving on. And sometimes moving on, ooh, this gonna hurt. I don't know who else is on this line, but sometimes moving on means disconnecting from circles, right? The friends that you guys may have had together. You have to disconnect from that because that's going to keep a link in the chain some kind of way. And sometimes it's best to disconnect just for your own mental stability, right? When I say disconnect, I'm talking about, just regular casual, everyday conversation, just, I'm not saying you dog them or anything like that, but in order to move on in some areas, you have to put some distance between yourself and everything that was connected to your past situation. Right? Doesn't mean that you're weak. It just means that I want to be clean. I want to be free. I want to be clear, of any and everything that was connected to that. And you grow from it and you learn from it. You grow from it and you learn from it. Does it feel good? No, it doesn't. But it's only a season of your life. See, some of us miss seasons because we're still hung up on last season, and all those leaves are dead. Right? You got to be willing to pick yourself up and move on. I don't know who all that was for. I'll go back and read all the comments later on. But love hurts, right? It does, and it's supposed to. It's supposed to. It's supposed to. So again, like I told y'all in the beginning, man, I really just came on today uh out of obedience. Because like I said in the beginning, with everything that has happened with with my family and whatnot, I felt myself just like drifting, and it's just like, God, I gotta get back. I gotta get back, get my mind back. And so I guess this is just where I am right now. If you have any questions, I'm gonna check the comments section. So if you got some questions, ah, okay. I'm seeing some of the comments. I can't see them all right now. But if you have a question, man, you want to discuss it on how do you move on, I can try to give you some guidance in that area. I don't know if you're gonna want it, but I can try. I see that. Let me see if I can scroll up on some of these. I guess I can't. So yeah, like I said, I'll go back and look at some other stuff later. But listen, I want to thank you for giving me about 40 minutes of your time. I'll have more of a set time possibly later on, but I had to come in today just to prove that I'm not defeated. Right? I'm not defeated. If something was said today to help you, I hope to God it helped you. Um, but yeah, we're gonna get into some other stuff, some other things that I'm hoping and praying that will allow you to grow. But biggest thing, man, look in the mirror, right? Look in the mirror. And only thing God requires from you is your best. You can't compare what you do to what somebody else has done, to what somebody else is doing. Only thing he wants is the best effort you can give him. If you can ask yourself, tell yourself you did the best that you possibly could do, then God is pleased with you. But if you know you half did it and you didn't do it right, because you may have seen someone else who didn't give that much of an effort, man, don't put yourself on anybody else's territory, right? Don't put yourself there. Think for yourself, man, who am I? Right? Who am I? What's in me? What's in me that I'm afraid to explore? You know, God didn't give any one of us the same fingerprint, which means he made all of us unique and individual. Okay, I see something. I'm in the process. Let me see if I could. Moving on. And it's hard. How do you remain positive when it gets to the hardest stage of the process? I've heard that a lot. How do you remain positive? You remain positive because you finally realize it was a reason for you to move on. um, you remain positive because you know you're moving on to, I'm not going to say better as if what you're moving from is just so horrible. Um, I'm going to say I'm moving on to different things that will bless me more. I'm getting in position. I'm moving more toward purpose. And when you're moving toward purpose, a lot of times some things have to be cut off. Right? I just said this yesterday at church, and I meant every word of it. For the people that God has given me to pastor and to lead, I'm not everybody's pastor, right? I know the flock that God has given me. I know the people God have given me, because the people that God have given me all have a trait of my personality. So therefore, everything I say ain't for everybody. And that's why I think a lot of people, everything is for this specific group of people. It's just like my children at the house. Everything I say to my children ain't for every other child in the neighborhood. I have a responsibility to these children here. And my prayer to God was that he starts removing every demonic attachment that the people he has given me leadership over, start removing those people, places, or things out of the lives of the people. Because a lot of people are falling short based on and emotion. Remember, the devil comes disguised as an angel of light, which means he comes sweet, he comes nice, he comes with the easiest, he comes with innocence and all of these different things. This is why it says, try the spirit by the spirit to see if it is of God, because Satan is going to mimic a lot of different things. He's going to mimic a lot of different things. And when we rush into certain things and we get attached to it, and we know deep down in our heart it's not what we're supposed to be doing, but we're holding out hope. But then when you finally get the nerve to move forward and move on with your life, is it going to hurt? Yes, it's going to hurt. I'm going to tell you something my daddy told me years ago. It was, and this, hopefully this will help you a little bit. He asked me, he said, are you saved? I said, yeah. He said, how do you know you saved? I said, because I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. I believe that he hung, bled, and died on the cross for my sins and rose again on the third day, to cover me. I believe that. And then he said, do you ever go out and do some things that kind of make you feel like you're not saved? I'm like, huh? He said, do you ever go and do anything that probably that a saved person wouldn't do? I said, yeah. He said, and sometimes you feel like you're not saved. I said, right. He said, but then deep in your heart, you know that you are. I said, right. He said, okay, go with what you know, not off of what you feel. He said, because your feelings will lead you on a roller coaster. And then he said some powerful words to me. He said, go ahead and go through the process of pain. Obviously, you can tell I was at the point of a breakup. He said, go ahead and go through the pain because it has purpose. Because you know what you need to do, not what you feel. And see, I'm finna lay this heavy on you. I'm finna lay this real heavy on you. Right? When it's time for you to put in your 2 weeks notice on your job, it's amazing how your job comes with a counteroffer. That's if you're a valuable employee. They come with all of the things that you always wanted when you're getting ready to leave, which means they could have gave that to you the whole time. In a relationship, sometimes when you finally got fed up and you're tired and you're getting ready to walk away, but now all of a sudden, everything seems to line up right. You need to keep moving. Because if you withheld everything that you knew that I needed or wanted or desired, and you could have given it to me, but now that you know that I'm leaving, now here it comes. Guess what? As soon as you say, okay, baby, I believe you, guess what's going to happen? It's only going to take a couple weeks for things to get back the way they were. Right? So go through it. Go through it. And here it is. Stop wanting people to feel sorry for you. Please stop, because what happens is you're going to attract sorry people. Ooh, that was good. Always wanted somebody to feel sorry for you because you got your heart broke or whatever. You know what? You made the decision to walk away. Now deal with the issue, deal with the pain. Why? Because you decided that there was something better for you. And that person, they loved you to their area of capability. That doesn't make them a bad person because they could not reach a certain standard that you had. That means they reached their capacity for you. Now, their capacity for you might be at a level 2, but for somebody else, that might be the best thing that ever happened to them. And you can't worry about that. Fall in love with Jesus. Trust me. Because some of these tears we cry over people, he's won some of those tears at the altar for himself. All right? So, I bet you somebody said, Lord, I ain't going to ever ask him no question. You see the podcast title, right? No sugar added. I am not going to sugarcoat it for you. I'm not going to baby you because you're stronger. You're kingdom citizens. You're men and women of God. and you have choices in life. You can choose on whether you want to heal or not. And that's for real. You can choose that. You can walk in that, or you can float away in misery. But we've got to be the type of people that we believe in our God. We believe in him totally. We believe in him totally. We lean on him. All right. I'm getting ready to get out of here for now. Unless another question come through. But for now, I'm gonna get ready to bail. I'm gonna play my baby one more time. Because God is love. God is love. God is love. Love you guys. Okay, okay, yeah. Keep on asking. And I'm gonna keep telling you the truth. I'm gonna keep loving on you. Because daughter, you're worth whatever God has for you. Just put yourself in a position to receive it. And everybody can't go with you. Don't forget that. To my family, Robertson, Phillips, Moss family, I love y'all. We're gonna get through this whole thing. We're gonna make it through it. Proud of my sisters, Daniel and Teresa. Mom will be proud. Proud of my pops. Love y'all. Y'all be good. And have an amazing rest of your day.